I always bring this up when we're talking about immigration because I don't think that this gets talked about enough. And you said people are coming here because there's work. They're also coming here, Andy, because we are blowing up their countries.
Yes, of
We are
course.
destroying their countries. We are sanctioning them into oblivion. Their countries are unlivable. Nobody wants to leave their home. Nobody wants to pick up and move their family, take a dangerous journey to a foreign country where they don't know the language, they don't know anybody, they don't know the customs, they don't have a job, they have no way of surviving. They're doing it because they're forced into that situation, in large part thanks to our foreign policy.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
doesn't get talked about, Andy. Nobody wants to talk about the actual underlying cause of immigration, and that's a big part of it, right?
Well, we went through this thing nearly 10 years ago with Brexit, and it has been
Yeah.
as much of a disaster as it will be if Trump gets away with it in the US.
Yeah.
Because all of the things that you say are absolutely relevant. There are all kinds of reasons why people have to leave their homes, and people don't generally want to do it. And and what we've seen steadily, which now Trump has just leapt into and embraced wholeheartedly, is that there is no legitimate reason for anyone poor from another country, one that we have economically suppressed or destroyed by war or whatever it is, to come to our countries for any reason. We have steadily whittled away at the notion of what's acceptable, so that what we had in the UK, for example, for years was a phenomenal amount of hatred directed at economic migrants. How dare they come here and do the crappy jobs that nobody here wants to do? How dare they? But now what's happened is that we've moved on to demonize refugees to such an extent that we no longer accept the notion that that our country should take in refugees, people who are literally fleeing intolerable circumstances. And what I'm sure people in the United States don't know is that our last Tory government attempted to pass law, or did pass a law. It was kind of impossible to implement, but they passed a law which made the very act of being a refugee criminal. So it meant that if you arrived on UK soil without getting there through an approved route, there are almost no approved routes. We let Ukrainians in for a while, and we, for a while, let some Afghans in. Otherwise, the only way you can get into the UK generally is to risk your life by getting on a small boat run by a smuggler across the channel. And the Tory government said the moment you arrive in the United Kingdom, you will be arrested and we will deport you if you can, because there is no legitimate way in which you can come to the United States and the UK and claim to be a refugee. They tried to destroy the notion of being a refugee. And these are all issues that are very important about what Donald Trump is doing, because he's not only making everyone within the United States of color feel under threat, but he's also trying to stop anyone coming into the United States at all at the borders. So he's trying to shut down the notion that there should be such a thing as a refugee, and that the United States, as a wealthy country, should be in a position to take in refugees. We established these rules in 1950 to try and have a way of understanding that wealthier countries and countries that had imposed so much horror on the rest of the world really should open their doors to a certain number of people. You can fix a number if you want, but what you really shouldn't be doing, and which no one suggested until recently, is that you absolutely slam the door shut on anyone who wants to come to our countries as a refugee.
Yeah. I mean, again, if you don't want refugees, then I don't think there should be refugees either. The way to do that is stop creating them, because the United States is the largest creator of refugees in the world. It's not even close. I mean, obviously the UK has a hand in some of that as well. And, there are other countries who are guilty of some things, but I don't think anybody would argue that there is no greater contributor than the United States of America. That's what we do. Like, we just go around and destroy people's countries. We sanction them. We overthrow democratically elected leaders, install puppet dictators, steal your resources, and then complain when you want to come here. It is astonishing to me that there's no the lack of humanity, I think, is what bothers me the most, because I feel like that has been, especially in this country, I don't know how bad it is there, but here I feel like it's been conditioned out of us. In this country, we just don't give a shit about each other anymore. I'm not sure we ever really did, but we're
Well, I
really
think,
losing that.
yeah, I think there's definitely a point, Misty, that that solidarity has been deprogrammed out of working people in particular over many decades now. But I think our biggest practical problem is that a percentage of the population, so let's say it's about a quarter, has been conditioned to think that there is nothing more important in their daily lives, generally on a 24/7 basis of unfettered rage, than the problems posed by immigrants and immigration. And it's a lie, and they are fed it relentlessly by people who have all the power and influence. They own our social media channels, for example, and we all know what happened to the one with the little bird and how that has been manipulated by its owner. It's the same thing in Britain. It's just a steady stream of filth on social media from people who are obsessed and have been brainwashed and programmed to think that migrants are the problem and to lap up horrendous, untrue stories about migrants to keep them in this state of perpetual hatred
and fear. Fear is such a powerful manipulator and motivator. I think it is used so abundantly in politics. I think if you pay attention very closely to politicians, they lead with fear, because once you're afraid, you don't think critically anymore.
And I think what lots of Americans don't know, Misty, is that 9/11 enabled the United States government, the establishment, the media to keep people in a state of fear permanently. I mean, honestly, that is not something that you can say of any of the other Western countries. You can't say that about countries in Europe. We literally will not be told every day since 23 years ago, you have to be fearful all the time, every minute of live in fear. It's a much bigger problem in the States, but people in the States don't realize they've been trapped in this toxic, poisonous bubble. So they're actually just afraid.
All the time. You're absolutely right about that. All the time. And what I think is so frustrating to me is that, to me, it's abundantly clear that an immigrant, a brown person, a Muslim, a Mexican, a Black person, or whatever, none of those people are my enemy. None of those people. And listen, are there bad people? Are there gang members coming to this country? There's no question about it. There are gang members in Chicago.
Yeah.
There are homegrown gang members right here in the United States. Not saying that we should welcome gang members or anything like that, but the idea that you are just fearful of these people who are poor and have no resources, they have no ability to change anything, they have no power. It's just crazy to me. Our enemy, we have a collective enemy, and it is the people in power. And they are playing you all like fiddles. That's what's happening.
Well, this is where the solidarity has gone, Misty, because people don't realize that poverty creates crime.
Yes.
That's going to be the reason that people get engaged in crime, is because they don't have any money in a capitalist society. And what are we doing? Are we looking at the people who have taken a superabundance of the wealth? No. Everything, we are being encouraged and programmed relentlessly not to look at the people who we should be looking at.
Yes. And that's another thing. Like, I like to, when we're talking about immigration, I like to talk about foreign policy. When we're talking about crime, we need to be talking about the socioeconomic causes of that. People don't want to look beneath surface level. They just want a boogeyman. They want somebody to be mad at, and that's it. And then they feel better. They can be mad at the immigrant. They can be mad at the Mexican who's taking their job or whatever. And it feels good to be angry, and that's it. And they don't think past surface level. And crime comes from reasons. There are reasons for that. And it is because people are poor. They don't have resources. They can't feed their family. Not just crime, drug and alcohol abuse, domestic violence, child abuse. A lot of those things could be not entirely remedied. Obviously, there's always going to be problems. But a whole lot of that stuff can be taken care of if we just met people's basic needs. Really.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's it.
Please clap.